All right, so here we go. We're now recording. We're going to create a contact manager, and I'm going to come in here and create a new class called, and let's put this in a package. Let's have a proper package structure. So we'll have a contact model package, and in there we're going to create a new class called contact, and it's going to have a name and an email, and we want a default constructor, public contact, and let's have a constructor that makes it convenient to actually stuff things in there. Watch this. This is cute. Source, generate constructor using fields, both fields please. Thank you very much. More Eclipse goodness. Now we need getters and setters for these things. Source, generate getters and setters please. Everybody in sight. More Eclipse goodness. If you didn't know about that, now you do. All right. So we now have a contact, and we need now a contact server. So I'm going to create a new class called contact server, and we're going to put it in a package called contact server, and we want a main method. So there's our contact server, and I'm going to come over here and just scrape some of these annotations because I certainly can't remember what they are, and I don't expect that you would either. And this is the way that I'm going to suggest that you go about coding your projects for starters. Just go look at these examples, pull in the relevant bits, and change certain things. We don't want this to be running the hello server. We want it to be running the contact server. So you have to know what bits to change when you do the copy and paste. Okay? And then we want a method that is going to respond with the list of contacts. Well, we need a contact database. List of contacts, and let's instantiate that here equals new array list contact, and Control-Shift-O solves all of our import problems, and away we go. And now let's write a method that just puts some stuff in there. So public int initialize, that is going to put some stuff in there. Contacts.add new contact. Fred lives at fred@somewhere.com. And we'll have Wilma also. So Wilma will also be in there. Fred will not be lonely. Wilma at somewhere.com, and then it needs to return something. Any method that's a web service method needs to return something. Did you hear that? I'll say it again. Your web service methods must not be void. And now we have to mark it up with one of these request mappings thingy boppers, and let's give it the path initialize. And then I want another method that is actually going to return all of those contacts. Public list of contact, list contacts, return contacts. So this is what we have so far. One method to shove some initial stuff in the database, and one method to return them all. Let's fire it up and see if it burns. Right-click, run as Java application. I'm actually expecting this one not to work, but it might. I want you to see. Oh, yes! It did not work. It failed to start. Tomcat connector in failed state. You need to know what to do when this happens. Okay? It says application startup failed, and if you scroll up far enough, you'll see the reason why buried in there. It says where is it? Address already in use. Okay? When you, and you don't have to search back for that. If you just see a failure like this, that means that there's another server process running on that same port already on your computer, and you can't start up another server process running on that same port. So you guys tell me, what's our fix? Stop the other server. How do we do that? Switch to the other console, which is over here, that baby, and terminate. Goodbye. All right, now let's start this one again. This is our contact server. This is confusing. Let's clean that up. I don't want all those in there. Let me go to my run configurations and get rid of all those babies. Goodbye. Yes. And then just make sure we... Oh, what on earth did I do? Wow. Let's close everything. Here's the hellos. No, we don't want that. Goodbye. We don't want the hello stuff. We want this baby. Are you following? You're amazing. All right, so let's right-click this contact server and run as Java application. And this time, I think we'll have better success. And we have only 15 minutes left. You're doing real well. Okay. So it started successfully, and now I want to execute the initialize method. How do I do this in the web browser? Localhost :8080/initialize, and we got back 0, which is what I was expecting, right? And now there should be some stuff in that contacts list. Let's go and do that list contacts thingy. Why, looky that. There's your JSON. It took that list of contacts and serialized it into JavaScript object notation. Notice the outermost brackets are square brackets. That's your list notation. And inside we have two objects denoted by curly brackets. Is that making sense? And there's your name and email properties. This is very nice. Okay. What do you suppose would happen if we did initialize again?
2 more.
Add 2 more. Okay. So if we go then to list contacts, there they all are. Close. Created a class. And I didn't get the ethical office involved. All right. So now we need to actually write a program that consumes this. So let's do this real quickly. Right click. What's the first thing I need to do, folks? Create a new interface that the client program is going to use to talk to the server. Okay, we come along here. So I'm going to create a new interface. I'm going to put it in the contact client package. I'm going to call it the contact service. Tell me what to put in it, please. How do I start it? How did I start the hello service interface? I copied the method signatures from my server. So I'm going to come over here and grab this baby here and put it in my interface. And I'm not going to actually bother putting the initialize one in because this is the only one I care about for now. And I'm going to mark it post and what in parentheses and quotes. The same path that is on the server side for that method. So that was list contacts, I think. And Control-Shift-O to make Eclipse happy and save, and we have our interface. And I need a slash. I need a slash there. Needs to match the one right there, including capitalization. Okay. And now I need my main program. Right-click, New Class, Contact Client. I want my main method. I'm coming down here to my other example to pull in that bit of code, and then you get to tell me what needs to change for this program. So I'm shoving it in here, and you tell me what needs to change. Here, it's the contact service that's the interface that we're working with. And that needs to change there and down here. Those two need to match. What else needs to change? There's no home method on this interface. There is a list contacts method on that interface. So that's what we're going to invoke. And then I want to put the return type in there. And just to show you a little more Eclipse goodness, let's have Eclipse fill in the return type for us. Create local variable result. Thank you very much. Okay. And now we can print it out. System.out.println result. And let's see what happens when we run this thing. So there's the code. Any questions about it before I run it? Okay. Let's right-click, Run as Java Application. And here is the result. And I didn't make a toString for my contacts, so that's the junk that we get. Oh, you've got to see this. Let's make a toString. Source, generate toString, please. All right, so it wrote a nice little toString method put at the top. Why did you do that? I want you at the bottom. There. Now let's try our contact again, and this time we should get nice little textual representations. Good. Now the last thing I need to do with this particular example is show you how to send objects to the server. Can you take one more little bit of stuff shoved in? We got objects coming back from the server. We need to send objects to the server because I want my program to be able to send a new contact to the server. Okay? So I have this in the lecture notes, to which I now turn, and let's talk. Ooh. Yes, this is what we need. I'm going to add a new method to my server class called addContact that receives a contact from the client. And we have to mark it with this special little marker to tell it that the data is going to be going in the request body, which is the only place you can send objects, in the request body. So let's just put that in here. So I'm going to come over to the server side. Remember where we're working. Public int add contact. And if I were just doing pure Java, I would write it like this. Contacts.add contact. We want a method that takes a new contact object from the client and adds it to our database. And then, to make it work as a web service, we have to mark it up with these little markers. So request mapping, we have to give it a unique path, add contact. I'll mention in passing that the name here does not need to match the name there, but I usually make it match just because it makes more sense to be that way. Okay. And then this guy has to be marked with that little request body. I think that was what it was. Control-Shift-O. Oh, and then we're forgetting to return something. Let's return how many contacts there are after that add operation. So there's the server side. I've just added a feature to my server to allow it to add contacts. I'm going to ask you to go home and play with this after class and add a method to delete a contact. So I'm hoping that as you're following along today and you're grasping, you're going to be able to apply this now and actually implement a little change to this project in just a little bit. So there's the server side. Now to get this working from the client, I need to come over to my client interface and add a new guy over here. I need to add a post for him. And this is add contact. I'm living dangerously by not copying that path. And over on the Spring side, you've got to mark it body, not request body, or it will not work because Retrofit doesn't know anything about that request body annotation. You have to mark that parameter body. Don't you love these little bits of minutia? I mean, it looks like it's so easy, and then if you forget and do something not quite the right way, then it just won't work. This is computer technology for you. All right, and I'll put my little semicolon there, and then let's come over to the program and just invoke that method. So let's call service dot add contact, new contact, George. Let's let George, no, Pebbles. We need Pebbles. Pebbles. Fred and Wellman must have Pebbles. Pebbles at somewhere dot, where do they live? Bedrock. I got that wrong. I should have been using Bedrock all this time. All right, so there's Pebbles, and we'll add that and then see if this actually works. I can predict what's going to happen when I hit the run button. Can you predict what's going to happen? Is it going to work? How many of you think it's going to work when I hit the run button? Okay, we've got one vote of confidence. How many know for certainty it's not going to work? Uh-oh. How many of you are completely unsure and just going to sit back and see? All right. Hold, here we go. Contact client, boom. What went wrong? Didn't restart the server. I made a code change on the server, did not restart it. It had no chance of working. So we switch back over to the server. I hit the wrong one there, hit this one, hit stop, hit start on the server, and then run the client. And did you see what happened? I ran the client, I got a stack trace, and that happened because I ran the client too soon. The server has to be up and listening. It's like when you wake up in the morning. I woke up my kids this morning. They are not ready for commands, okay, until they are up and have had their coffee. So now let me run the client again, and I think we'll have success. Yes. Pebbles is in there. Why aren't the other ones in there? I restarted the server, and then I didn't run that initialize thingy, so it was just empty. Pebbles all alone. How sad. Okay. So there in brief is how to write client-server applications in Java using Spring and Retrofit.